Welcome to the Wildie West, a podcast dedicated to being a voice for wild horses. My name is Chase McGoran, and I will be your host. Let's save these horses together. All I ask you to do is listen. Alberta's majestic wild horses, also known as mountain horses or wildies, embody the values we hold most dear. Values such as the right to live self-determined lives, tenacity, strong family bonds, freedom, and a wild spirit. Unfortunately, their numbers are on the decline, and they face many challenges to their survival besides predators and poachers. We lose a few horses every year to accidents such as falls, slips, or environmental hazards. The cliffs at the Panther River are a case in point. The horses are attracted to a flat, grassy meadow on top of the cliffs, but must climb a steep, winding path to reach it. We've lost many horses there, especially in the winter, when the ground is icy and slick. They lose their footing and fall to their deaths. According to Daryl Glover, president of the Help Alberta Wildie Society, HAWS, the bodies of several dead horses have been found at the base of these same cliffs. It's here, at the Panther River Cliffs, on the eastern slopes of the Rocky Mountains, that the daring rescue of a young Wildie foal took place last year, on a wet and rainy spring afternoon in May. I remember being at home studying for my finals that day. I remember getting an invite to go and see some wildies and having to decline so that I could make sure I was prepared for my finals. I don't regret it. I did well on those tests, but that doesn't mean I didn't miss out. Dee and Hunter, a couple of characters in today's story, decided to head out west to look for wild horses when they came across an unbelievable sight. Hold on tight. This is the incredible true story of the rescue of Tumbler, with video footage provided courtesy of Dee herself. The story of Tumbler and Dee's video footage of his rescue by Dustin went viral. It was originally aired on Global, CBC, The National, and then quickly picked up by international news stations, capturing the hearts of people across the globe. This foal, Tumbler, he's one of the lucky ones. Not only was he rescued from certain death, but unlike other rescued foals, he was immediately reunited with his mother and his band, who were all watching and waiting down below. DNA testing by renowned geneticist Dr. Gus Cothran found that Alberta wildies like Tumbler can trace their ancestry back to Indian ponies, draft Canadian horses, which is our national horse, first brought to Quebec from France in 1665, and the Spanish Iberians brought over by conquistadors in the 1500s. The distinctive genetic makeup of these horses constitutes a breed of horse completely unique to Alberta. The modern-day horse, Equus caballus, evolved in North America and was theorized to have crossed the Bering Land Bridge into Eurasia before becoming extinct on this continent during the Ice Age. This contradicts the evidence of indigenous oral histories, cave drawings, pictograms, and fossil bones of late Pleistocene equines, which suggests that the horse never completely left North America. Those opposed to the continued existence of free-roaming horses on the Canadian landscape dismiss the scientific evidence and intentionally miscategorize these horses as feral. Feral in this case meaning domestic horses who have escaped captivity to live in the wild. This classification means that these horses have little in the way of legislated protection, except for a right to humane capture and disposal under the Stray Animals Act. They have been cruelly persecuted and scapegoated for centuries by the Alberta government and range managers, who have tried to hide the fact that their own historical environmental studies indicate logging, cattle grazing, and off-highway vehicle use are primarily responsible for the degradation of interior bunchgrass ecosystems, not the horses. Reclassifying these horses as a naturalized species, such as was done for the Sable Island horses, would offer them full legislated protection. Tens of thousands of horses used to thunder across the plains, bunchgrass valleys, and foothills of our mountains. Their numbers have dwindled to less than 1,500. The criteria for an endangered species are 2,500 or less mature individuals in total, 250 or less per subpopulation. Yet, the government will only allow a total of 1,700 and are considering culling 30 stallions in the Clearwater Zone and darting 90 mares with an experimental birth control drug. There are 44 herds in the region of Alberta where Tumbler was born, known as the Sundry Equine Zone, with an estimated population of 839 individuals, according to the February 2024 Government of Alberta aerial helicopter count. The Sundry Equine Zone has the largest population of free-roaming horses in the province. There are 6 equine zones: the Brazeau, Nordegg, Clearwater, Sundry, Ghost River, and Elbow zones, for a total population across all 6 zones of 1,428 in 2023, down from 1,712 in 2018. In 2024, the Brazeau and Nordegg zones were not flown, and the total estimated count across 4 zones was 1,478. Tumbler's band isn't in immediate danger of being culled. However, they face the constant threat of predators such as grizzlies, cougars, wolves, poachers, and the government. That's why you'll be pleased to know that Tumbler is still alive. He was spotted and photographed several months after his rescue, in good health and growing stronger under the watchful eye of his sire and protective band stallion Bob. It's time to demand protection for our few remaining wild horses who stand on the brink of extinction. People care about these horses. I mean, they really care. Enough to risk their lives to save just one foal. Just ask Dustin. Heavy rains had turned the gravel roads west of Sundry, Alberta, into a bone-jarring ride over an excessive smattering of potholes. One after the other, filled with rainwater, splattering a thick coat of dark mud onto Dee's Ford truck. The continuous bump, bump, bump rattled the pickup as they drove deeper into the back country, searching for Alberta's free-roaming horses, known as Wildies. The rolling hills were covered in a green canopy of jack pine and lodgepole pines, as the rugged wilderness stretched out before them, with the sharp, gray peaks of the Rocky Mountains looming large in the background. Dark clouds loitered overhead, threatening another deluge. The smell of pine, damp grass, and soaked gravel roads filled the air. It was foaling season, and they'd already seen several bands with playful youngsters underfoot. May is one of the best months to look for wild horses. It's the time of year when the bands come down from their winter grazing areas deep in the interior of the backcountry and travel to the lush spring pastures near the campgrounds. They gather here every spring for mares to give birth, to graze on the lush green grass, and for the annual wife-swapping events that keep the gene pool fresh. With so many bands in proximity, vying for the rich spring pastures, there are bound to be disagreements and fights. A young bachelor stallion tries to steal a mare, inciting the wrath of the banned stallion, who confronts the would-be thief and, with a warning snort, chases him away. This time, the young stallion was unsuccessful, but there will be many more opportunities for him to challenge others and secure his own harem, if only for a short time until he too is challenged. Hunter's role was to be the Wildie lookout, while Dee tried to keep her truck in one piece as they traversed the endless washboard rows of potholes. The weather was unsettled, with gray clouds blocking out the sun and a brief shower raining down from above. Dee debated turning around and heading home instead of continuing to the Mountain Air Lodge, where the Yarra Creek bands tended to congregate. But something told her to keep going. She had a feeling they'd see more horses up ahead. Her intuition was right. They soon came upon a band of horses grazing on the side of the road at the bottom of the towering cliffs near the Panther River. A lone, white pickup truck was parked on the shoulder, its occupants outside taking photos of the horses. The leader of the band was Bob, a well-known stallion to local photographers who frequented the area. He was a magnificent bay with a reddish-colored body, black legs, and a long, dark mane that cascaded in subtle waves down the length of his thick, muscular neck. He looked like his Spanish-Iberian ancestors, with his muscular physique and compact body. Bob was grazing with his band on the side of the road underneath the cliffs, beside a blue and white sign that read Wild Horse Provincial Recreation Area and JKL Trail Rides, 5 kilometers. June, a wild horse advocate who has been photographing and cataloging these horses for over a decade, later supplied the information about this band. According to her, Bob's herd had formed in 2021 when he acquired 2 mares, Obsidian and Aretha, 1 foal, a colt named Aladar, and a 2-year-old colt Astro. In 2022, there were 2 foals born into the band. Aretha had a filly named Kato, and Obsidian had a foal named Vassie. Neither of those foals survived, and Astro left the herd. In 2023, 2 foals were born, Stone to Aretha and Checker to Obsidian, both of whom are still alive and with the band. In May of 2024, when Dee and Hunter stumbled upon this band at the bottom of the cliffs, Aretha, a black mare, was expecting. Aladar was no longer with the band, and there was a new bay mare who had recently joined the herd. When Dee and Hunter first arrived at the cliffs, they came upon Bob, pregnant Aretha, and the new bay mare, and the 2 yearlings, Checker and Stone. They pulled over, thrilled to be so close to these wildies that are nicknamed roadrunners because they travel up and down the logging roads. Hunter, ever the eagle-eyed lookout, turned to Dee and said,
"There's a mare on the hill. She has a foal and it's stuck."
The sound of horses nickering filled the air. Bob raised his head and was looking straight up at something on the cliffs. The other horses followed suit. They were whinnying back and forth, communicating in horse language that something was wrong. Dee and Hunter stepped out of the truck to have a better look, and Dee pulled out her phone to record a video, something she did often as a member of the Help Alberta Wildie Society, the Hawes team. What she saw gave her the fright of her life. There, high above them, at least 60 feet up on top of the hill, was a panic-stricken black mare, calling to her foal who had slipped and fallen down the steep embankment. Dee watched in horror as the foal tumbled end over end further down the hill, towards the cliff's edge and a sharp, vertical drop beneath. In a miraculous stroke of luck, the foal stopped rolling just shy of the edge, where it became trapped in a tangle of white tree branches. It struggled for a moment, almost freeing itself and tumbling over the edge, but it soon gave up, restrained by the tangle of branches. By this time, a small crowd had started to gather at the bottom of the cliff, as a few more vehicles pulled over. All the horses in the band were now looking up towards the commotion on the cliff's edge, as the mare nickered and inched towards her frightened foal. Dee pondered how to help, but with her left arm still in a sling after shoulder surgery, there wasn't much she could do, so she continued to film the unfolding tragedy. A fall off of that cliff meant certain death for the foal. If it lived, it might be severely injured, in which case Dee would have taken it to the wild horse rescue for treatment or a humane end to its suffering. A truck pulled up beside Hunter, and a man by the name of Dustin stepped out. He was on his way to spend a day with his family fishing when he pulled over to see what all the commotion was about. Dustin looked up the hill, assessed the situation, and without hesitation jumped into action, scaling the treacherous embankment. The grass was slippery and wet, the soil muddy and loose. He was wearing running shoes, not the best footwear to climb a mountain. He scrambled up to the left of the foal, grabbing tree branches for balance. The mare was on the right. She was confused, not knowing what to make of the human so perilously close to her foal. She retreated a few steps, her attention focused on the man as her hooves dislodged a clump of moist soil that crumbled and rolled down the bank. Dustin grabbed the thin aspen saplings for balance and pulled himself up within 10 feet of the foal, while the anxious mare watched his every move. He stepped closer, grabbed the bushes for balance, and kept his eyes on Mama. The mare stepped forward from the other side in a protective gesture, her anxiety palpable.
Dustin, be careful!
Shouted his girlfriend, who was standing beside Dee and Hunter, watching with bated breath from below. Dustin took a step back and waved one arm in the air to get the mare to back off. He grabbed the thin trunk of another aspen and stayed put, watching as the mare moved closer to her foal. Dustin took a deep breath while watching the distraught mare and replied, Then, something unexplainable happened. The mare turned and walked away. She stumbled along the path a few feet, then turned around and looked back. Her foal wasn't coming. Dustin saw his chance and quickly made his way to the foal. He grabbed it by the front legs and dragged it a few feet further up the steep hillside, away from the edge of the cliff. The foal opened its mouth and began clacking, baby horse talk, for please don't hurt me. Dustin hoisted the foal to its feet, and once it was up and standing, he retreated. The mare, Obsidian, watched Dustin manhandling her baby and rushed back over. She scrambled across the muddy hillside as clumps of loose earth tumbled down the steep embankment. She climbed over, nickered softly, and claimed her frightened baby. They touched noses for a fleeting moment before turning, scrambling up the steep hillside, then veering right and scuttling back down to their waiting band and the safety of level ground. The foal's sire, Bob, raised his head and nickered when the foal and Obsidian returned to safety at the roadside, where he and the rest of the band were waiting. The other band members included a foal's yearling brother, Checker, a pregnant black mare named Aretha in Stone, her 2023 ungendered foal, and a new, not yet pregnant, bay mare. This band is a rarity, in that both of last year's foals survived, despite a disheartening 8% survival rate for new foals. It bodes well for the rescued foal that his sire Bob, the band stallion, has been able to protect the herd thus far, and that his older siblings have managed to survive. Dustin was met with a well-deserved round of applause when he climbed back down to the roadside. His selfless act of heroism saved this Wildie foal, who Hunter named Tumbler. Most wild foal rescues involve an abandoned or injured foal that's removed from the backcountry and rehabbed in captivity. It's illegal to return them to the wild once removed, which makes this rescue even more remarkable. It's rare for a wild foal rescue to involve the foal being rescued in the wild, reunited unharmed with its mother, and then going on to continue living in the wild. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode, The Story of Tumbler. The amount of support we have received from you this season has really meant so much, and it brings us closer to seeing these animals saved. A huge thank you to every single person that took time out of their day to allow me to interview them this season. If you want to help, there are a ton of different things you can do. If you live in Canada, you can write to your local member of parliament or directly to the Minister of Parks in Alberta. If you're not as comfortable doing that, you may wish to follow the Help Alberta Wildie Society or HAWS on Facebook to get more involved and see what other things you can do. And you can always go and check out the Alberta Mountain Horse Preservation Society, also on Facebook. The information for both of these incredible groups can be found in the show notes for this episode. And of course, every like and comment means a lot, and clicking subscribe on YouTube will do even more for us as a podcast. Every little bit truly does help, and it allows me to show tangible proof that people care. If you would be so kind as to share this with friends or family that you think might be interested in this topic, or who you think would want to help, I would really appreciate it. If you would like to follow us on social media, you can find us on Twitter or X and Blue Sky using the tag @TheWildieWest. For any business inquiries, please feel free to reach out and contact us at thewildiewest@gmail.com. Join me next week. I'm your host, Chase McGoran. Thank you once again for listening to The Wildie West.
How's she gonna bring it back down? Leslie, be careful.